Peace, fam. Check this out. It's a good little video that I got from a brother who used to be strong in the movement, and I hope you can get something out of it. Dealing with the real members who are in the temple who've been in that whole life for a while. So let's start it up. Let's see. Hey, do me a favor. Yeah. Can you hear? Butter ramen, can you hear? Hit me with a little comment if you can hear.
Why should I call myself black and beautiful when it's the shoe of the man who dances the dance of the two camps? Cushion ham, Lord of Egypt, mighty, mighty, mighty Mobilis that cries and stumble, but never fall. For I'm the goddess of everyone and everything that grows. Hi, my name is Carol Modell.
Let me know if y'all can hear.
This is Life's Lessons, ABCS, and I'm the Lamb of the Noble Prophet, Drew Ali, with you. And today we have the Supreme Grand Sheik, David Bailey, and we have a brother from Indiana, Brother Gaines L. And what we're going to do today is, a lot of people don't know, although the movement has been around for a very, very long time, a very long time, but a lot of people don't understand and don't know, and we haven't been reaching out to the younger people like we should, and we haven't been bringing them up like we should, and that's why we're having a lot of problems. And so we want to go back to basics, okay, and that's why we have the Supreme Grand Sheik here, Brother Bailey Hill. We have him here so we can go back to basics, so we can tell you how the movement started, where the movement is, and who you are. So Supreme Grand Sheik, tell us how the movement started and why it started.
Well, it's from Sister Carol Bolton. First, I would like to give the highest of praise to my Father, God Allah, for having the opportunity to be here.
Yes.
And I'd like to give the highest of honors to His and our holy and divine prophet, Noble Drew Ali,
yes,
the founder of the Moorish Temple of America.
Right.
There's no doubt concerning this fact that the Father, God Allah, prepared and sent a divine prophet to the Asiatic people, the Moorish Americans, here in North America. And the movement has always been, per se, an Islamic movement. That's why we think in terms of Noble Drew Ali as being the founder of the first Islamic movement in North America.
Right.
But the purpose always has been and always will be to improve or make the condition of our people better. In other words, the purpose of the Moorish Temple of America has and always will be to uplift our people. And that's why we say that the purpose is the uplifting of fallen humanity. And we define that by saying this, that when you uplift a people or a nation, what you do is you make their condition better. You improve them. What the Moorish Temple of America is out to improve is the spiritual, the social, the intellectual, and the economic condition of our people. We can so readily see, as you said in your opening statements, that a mighty work is ours. When we look at the condition of our people, as I've been talking about with Brother Gaines Hill, that the condition of our people all throughout North America must improve. It's really a Negro problem. If you want to really get down to the nitty gritty.
Yes.
When you look at the crime rates, when you look at the unemployment, when you look at the lack of proper education,
exactly.
It's a Negro problem.
Yes, it is.
That's what I properly call it.
Right.
And it can only be solved by the Moorish Divine and National Movement. And this is why we're putting in programs now to do that. We're making sure that our people really understand, especially the Moorish leaders around the country whom we're bringing into unity in these days with the original grand body that I represent. We're bringing them into unity with the original grand body so that they can understand that our prophet told us the problems of life are like mainly social and economic.
Right.
But when we see all of this shooting, all of this lack of family unity,
Respect.
the lack of respect for human life, the lack of a religious consciousness amongst our children, is because our people and our leaders really don't understand that in a very profound sense, like our prophet said, our problems are moral and spiritual. Islam?
Islam. Very, very, very good. So how did he start the movement?
Well, we started out in Newark, New Jersey, as a Canaanite temple, knowing all along that our purpose has always been to make the condition of our people better. It always has been a movement that had, per se, an Islamic foundation. That's always been there.
Yes, but the prophet says, you know something, and I have always, I've kind of wondered about that, but he always said it wasn't Islamism. It's not Islam. Is there? What's the difference between Islam?
Well, we're talking about
the old
the study of or the practice of.
Okay.
You know, when we say Islamism,
okay,
you know, it's our religion.
Right.
It's the practice of Islam. But what we have to understand is this, is that the Moorish Temple of America is something that's alive and it's growing. And we grew out of Newark, New Jersey. A lot of people don't understand what occurred between the time the Prophet Noble Drew Ali left Newark and put his foot down in Chicago, what we call Cook County.
Right.
Okay? He met a lot of people along the way.
Right.
Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, Cleveland, Detroit, so on. And once he got here into Chicago, he was situated in Cook County that has home rule. And he was able to do some things here in Cook County that he couldn't do there. And once he started doing these things in Cook County, in 1826, we were calling ourselves the Moorish Holy Temple of Science. And we were a civic organization. We were functioning as a civic organization. But since the work of the movement was largely religious, the evolution continued. And in 1928, the Prophet renamed the movement the Moorish Temple of America, and it was in July of 28, July 20th to be exact. He held a meeting, and at that time, he organized us as a religious corporation and adopted the Moorish Temple of America as our corporate name. And all the time, he's still giving us structure. And we had one very eventful day, and then I'm going to let the other brothers say something. we had one very eventful day. And that was when we had our first convention. And that was in October of 1928. We had the first convention of Moorish Ancestral America. And my family was there. My great-grandparents, my grandparents, my mother, my father, and my older sister.
Oh, my goodness.
Were there at that first convention in October of 1928. And now we were this religious corporation. And he did something that really, I have to use the word profound again. It was on October the 17th, 1928, during that first convention. He wrapped the American flag around a little Moorish boy. And that little boy's name was Willie Mack Morris Eel. That's Moorish history. He wrapped that flag on October the 17th, 1928, around a little Moorish boy. His name was Willie Mack Morris Eel. He was the grandson of the second Supreme Grand Sheik of the MSTA. And he wrapped the Moorish flag around my mother's first cousin. At that time, her name was Grace Berry Eel. Having wrapped the Moorish flag around Grace and the American flag around little brother Willie Mack Morris Eel, he looked at the Moors and he said, I've made you a nation within a nation.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And to me, that's it.
That is very beautiful.
That was it.
That's
now, there's a lot we got to say about what occurred after that.
Yeah, but you know something, I had read somewhere that it was after this that the Roman Catholic Church made themselves a nation within a nation. Because I had read that Noble Drew Ali had done this first. And then in Rome, they made themselves a nation within a nation, the Vatican.
Well, the Vatican and everything that the Europeans about, they learned from us.
Right, exactly.
Everything that they're about,
right,
they learned from us.
Exactly.
The Catholic Church and the Moorish American of America are really the only true religious corporations in North America.
Yeah.
And we understand the fact that we must live up to that.
Right.
You know, we can talk about how somebody's imitating us and what somebody else is doing all we want to. We can talk about how original we are.
Right. Well, that's what I wanted to know. I wanted the children to know that we are original.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted. I wanted the history. I want them to know the history. And I want them to know that all along when they be thinking that they're really nobody, because nobody's doing anything for them as far as the mind and their sense of religion. No one is doing anything for them. So I wanted them to know that this history, and most history, it starts from them.
Yeah.
It starts from us.
There must be a presence out in the streets. Right now I see different groups and different temples having these things where they're giving the school children papers and books and things for going back to school. We're working in certain areas with having basketball teams amongst, conflicting teenagers. We're working in areas where we have to give attention to the spiritual and nourishment needs of people who don't come to the temple.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's like reaching out.
Yes.
We call it the outreach programs.
Right.
There must be more and more outreach programs and more involvement in outreach programs by Moorish Americans. We just can't come to the temple and get that good feeling and go back home.
That's right.
We got to come to the temple so fired up that we want to be out there the next day.
Among the people.
Amongst the people.
Yes.
Working in the community.
Yes.
Is what we've got to do.
Yes.
With turbans and fezes on.
Right.
So people will know who we are.
That's right. Yeah. Right. And so in that way it'll give them the incentive to find out who they are.
Yeah.
Okay.
The main thing that we're trying to do too, another main thing that we're trying to do is get people to know and understand what this movement is all about.
Right.
And what our goals and objectives are. To get the membership itself so fired up that they're going to go out and bring somebody else in. Let me tell you a little story. I'm going to tell it as fast as I can.
Okay.
You know, I'm a big talker.
We know.
It was, this is how we got to doing the movement. We're trying to get the members to understand. My mother had an aunt. This aunt was my grandmother's sister-in-law. She went to the temple at 3140 South Indiana in February of 1927, and she heard the prophet speak. She actually saw the prophet speak. She knew this was for her, and she joined the movement that night. She joined the movement that Friday evening. She came back to the house, and you know, at that time you might have two or three families in the same apartment.
Right.
She came back home, and she told my grandmother, and my mother, and my uncle, and her husband, all about this prophet. And they said, yeah, no. And it took her 2 weeks to get my mother and my grandmother and her husband to come to a meeting, but they came and they joined. And then my mother's brother joined. And then my great-grandmother, my great-grandfather joined. And their brother joined. And I'm saying this to say that my aunt pulled in about 15 or 20 people.
Right.
We got to have some Moors come in, and then they go out and they come back and they bring 15 or 20 people.
Right.
You know, there's strength in numbers.
Right, there is.
You know, there's a lot of work to be done, and we need these people to do this work.
Right, exactly.
And we're working on that now. We want to bring in people, and then they go get people.
Yeah, but you know, we seem so divided. You know, we seem so very divided. How are we going to overcome that?
You want me to take that one? Let me tell you about this division situation.
Okay.
It's nothing new. It's nothing new. Let me tell you this. Because my mother and father were there. And I barely missed being there. I was born in 1939.
Okay.
Our per se division in the MSTA started in August, or you could say July, let's say July of 1929. That's when the division started. Now prior to that, yes, we had some people that were not in sync with the prophet, were not obeying the prophet, but there was only one MSTA.
Right.
And there was only one prophet.
Okay.
Matter of fact, the prophet said, there's only one temple, and it's mine. Okay? But visualize this, envision this. July the 27th, 1929, we have a funeral for our prophet Noble Drew Allah. My family played an active role in the prophet's funeral, in the sense that my grandfather presided over the prophet's funeral. The Supreme Grand Sheik of the MSTA. Now, some people say these other things, but that's not true.
Right.
The Supreme Grand Sheik of the MSTA presided over the prophet's funeral, and my uncle, Austin Brown Bay, read the prophet's funeral obituary at the prophet's funeral on July the 27th, 1929. And we have that obituary today. Okay?
Okay.
The prophet visualizes, the prophet is laying in his casket dead. There were only 3 types of Moors at that time. Let me say it this way. Only 3 types of Moors came up and looked at the prophet laying in his casket.
Okay.
There were the Moors who were going to stick with the prophet's way of doing things. There were the Moors They wanted to undo some of the changes that the prophet had put in place.
Oh, okay.
That's a fact.
Okay.
And then there was a third group of Moors that was a unique group of Moors. What they really wanted was another prophet.
Oh, okay.
3 types of Moors.
Right.
Looking at the prophet.
Right.
No, listen to me, Moors, because first time some of you heard this.
Mm-hmm.
This is the truth. There were 3 types of Moors looking at the prophet laying in his casket.
Mm-hmm.
The ones who were going to stick with his way of doing things, the ones who wanted to make changes, go back to their way of doing some things.
Mm-hmm.
Remember the general laws that the prophet put in place
Mm-hmm.
in October of 28. A lot of Moors, governing officials, didn't like that.
Really?
Then there's this other group of Moors, what they wanted was another prophet. Bam! Brother Emilio was saying, I'm sticking with the prophet, I'm not going to undo anything that he put,
Right.
changes he put in place, and Moors gravitated toward him. So Moors did.
Right, right.
There's another Moor that we made an ad at
Mm-hmm.
in August of 29 that says, hey, if you want to make some changes, undo some things, I'm your man in Mecca. They played that song. And he was a nice guy. Everybody liked C. Kirkland better.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if anybody didn't like him.
Right. This is C.
And so,
Kirkland.
C. Kirkland. And so people gravitated towards him.
Right.
Then the third Moor said, well, the prophet's spirit came up out of his body and came down into mine. And I'm the prophet reincarnated. He said, remember our temple number 1. We got, we even had the record where he, we're talking about Johnny Gibbons here. We even had a record where he made his first per capita tax payment in November of 1928, November the 16th, 1928. He made his first per capita tax payment. We're the original Grand Valley.
Right.
We got the records to prove it.
Right.
But I'm not saying it's records that make us, but it's the knowledge that we have of what went wrong that more need to know, so they need to listen to us.
Right, exactly.
Not because we're so original this, original that,
Mm-hmm.
but so that you can get the truth.
Right, exactly. Because the prophet said the movement could not continue without him.
Yes.
So he's always the prophet. There's no reincarnation or anything. He's
Well,
always the head of the movement.
The prophet vested his power in a supreme body.
Oh, okay, okay. Like the Supreme Council.
Yes.
Okay.
And what we ended up in August, July 29, that's when the division started.
Okay.
And each one of those little groups have been splitting more and more ever since.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got people nowadays just want to throw up the sign and say, I'm the Moorish ancestral of America.
Oh, I see.
You know?
Right, right,
It's a tremendous problem, but
right.
we don't need to fight each other about it. What we need to do is explain to each other and everybody understand what went wrong and just say, come back home. I don't speak against anybody per se unless they're not with the prophet and they're out of sync with the prophet. But if you're in sync with the prophet and I'm in sync with the prophet, hey, it's cool.
Right.
You know, that's why I have a lot of respect for this one, for Brother Gangel and Brother Ken Bay, and the Moor in Philadelphia, Brother Azine Parkin Bay. I love the Moor.
Right.
He's in sync with the prophet. You know, and he knows what went wrong. He knows what we got to do.
But while we haven't been doing it, I mean, we're so behind. I
Here we
feel
go
that
again.
you're so very, very behind.
Here we go again.
Yes.
The problems in the Moorish Science Temple of America has never ever been the general membership.
Okay.
The problems in the Moorish Science Temple of America has always been the governing officials.
Oh, okay. All right. All right.
Go back and look at historical documents.
Mm-hmm.
We don't talk about what's wrong with the movement.
Mm-hmm.
The things that were wrong in 1927, 28 are the same things that are wrong now.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't got no problems.
Oh, okay.
It's still the same old problem with governing officials who want things their way instead of the prophet's way.
There it is.
That's the problem. You know,
You heard them, Moors? Ain't nothing wrong with the temples. There's something wrong with the people running the temples. Islam.
It's not that we got a whole lot of Moors out there that don't want to come together. We got some Moors out there that are not going to let us come together.
Oh, okay. I see that. But see, while we're doing that, and the leaders are doing this, our children are dying.
That's right. We dropped the ball. I tell Moors this all the time. I say, we're juggling about 10, 15 balls.
Mm-hmm.
And can't drop any of them.
Right.
We got to deal with our internal problems and not neglect our children.
Exactly.
And not neglect the family. And not neglect the moral and spiritual values that are not being taught.
Right.
When the prophet changed form, we were so busy fighting for power amongst ourselves and engaging our followers to join us in the fight that we forgot what we're supposed to be about.
Exactly.
We stopped uplifting fallen humanity.
Yes.
The prophet was showing us how to accumulate wealth. The prophet was showing us how to gain and acquire economic power and create jobs for our own people. We stopped doing that. So we could go to the European and get his approval on saying we're this and we're that.
Exactly. And we have no business doing that.
No.
We have never had any business doing that.
No. What we got to do is come together and support the prophet and stop supporting the me ideas of men,
right,
which have always done us harm.
Yes, it has.
Never did us any good.
Right.
The prophet told us this. He said, watch your enemies, dear Moors. Your enemies are the ones that speak against your prophet.
Right.
I had a Moor came up in my face and told me, he says, I got a problem with the prophet's marriage instructions. I said, Moor, you better get out of my face. Don't you ever dare come in front of me and tell me you got a problem with my prophet or the prophet's law. Don't ever do that. When we have a movement where people can come in and tell us the prophet's not right.
Oh, yes. I get you.
We got a problem.
Yes, we do. A big problem.
We have had all kinds of people come into the movement with all these things that distract us from what we should be doing.
Right, exactly.
Prophet told us stay out of European court.
Right.
We got Moors ready to get up in there so they can tell somebody they don't have jurisdiction over. The prophet told us stay out of there.
Right, exactly. And we have to do the things to stay out of there.
Yeah.
Okay. And they've got to know the things that they got to do so they can stay out of there.
We're supposed to have Moorish communities where we tell Europeans, I got this.
Right, exactly.
I got this.
Right.
And we do have it.
Right.
Ain't none of that going on.
No, it's not. No.
And we got to be real about it.
Right.
We're moving into the future. Right now, we're making big moves in the movement. And as far as reaching out, we're making big moves. We have a membership orientation manual that we put a lot of time into.
Okay.
We're working with Moors and other groups.
Right.
We got a database. The prophet wanted us to have a Moorish American town, and he wanted us to have some farmland. Let's be real. We need to single out communities in Chicago where we can go in there and clean it up.
Right.
The Moors clean it up.
Right.
We need to go in Englewood and clean it up.
Yes, we do. We should have done that years and years and
we
years
need to go
ago.
out to Roseland and clean it up.
Yes, years and years ago. Yes.
And Europeans would gladly see us move into Englewood
Exactly.
and take it over.
That's right.
And make it a Moorish community.
Yeah, because it's better for them.
And when the European policeman drives on, it could be Asiatic policeman, all I can't work for the European.
Right.
When he pulls up to the edge of that community, we say, whoa, we got this.
That's right.
We got this. We know how to stop crime.
Yes.
We know how to educate our people.
Yes.
I love Malcolm X.
Mm-hmm.
Thought he was a great person.
Yes, he was.
And I don't take that word off of it.
No.
You know? He wasn't a card-carrying Moor, but he was a great person.
Exactly.
You know? Malcolm X said only a fool would have his enemy educate his children.
There you go.
I asked a card-carrying Moor one time, who discovered America?
Sharday Jackson, no. All right, that's not relying on Albions. That's what the Moorish Science Temple's for, is because it's a corporation to interact with them. You feel me? That's why we go through the temples, and we private persons. The temple is our public entity that protects us as like a consulate. But once again, the sheiks and them, they ain't running it right. And this is what this great brother right here, the sheik, is talking about. What we should be doing, what we should be having. You feel me? Islam.
He said Christopher Columbus. It's sad.
Yeah, it is.
Because our children are being taught.
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
we complain about the crime and all this other stuff, but what about this other stuff our children are being taught?
Right.
You know?
But that's why they're crying. That's why they're crying.
Taught to act like that.
Right,
They
exactly.
see it on television.
Yes,
They got it on the video game.
that's right.
You know, they want something to shoot,
Mm-hmm. Right,
and they're gonna shoot anybody. They don't care.
right.
They just gonna shoot.
But that's manipulation, and they don't realize it's manipulation. But when it first came out, you saw it was nothing but manipulation. So why did we stop it? Why
We're
couldn't we
being played.
stop it?
We're being played in a very intelligent manner because, believe me, take my word for it, the penal system in the United States of America is a business enterprise, and somebody's
Yes.
making money.
That's right. That's right. Exactly.
Somebody's making money,
Exactly.
and they're doing good.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, sister, if I can just chime in on
Yes.
Yeah.
Please do, brother.
It's because we don't have the knowledge of ourselves.
Themselves.
Mhm.
Exactly.
And again, just giving praise to Allah and giving absolute gratitude to Allah for giving us all the prophet and the person to know Ali. Our people's suffrage is directly caused by not having the knowledge of ourselves.
Yes.
We're stripped of our identity in its totality. We were given marks and brands of slavery, titles such as Negroes, blacks, coloreds, things that allude directly to slavery, that doesn't contribute to humanity or any advancements of civilization. So when we have these type of marks on us as a people, our children don't aspire to do great things because they have no knowledge, no recollection, no records of their people accomplishing great things. So we always teach that when the Holy Prophet Noble Ali was born and his arrival and his prophethood has completely reshuffled the deck of civilization. Has completely reshuffled the deck of civilization by giving us our true identities back to us, our true nationality, our true birthrights that was sequestered from our people for generations, for successive generations by Europeans and political control. It was crafted, it was designed, it was constructed and enforced to keep us from having the knowledge of our true identity. During the time of chattel slavery, it was illegal for a Moor who was branded Negro, black, or colored to be able to read, to be able to write. And these laws were not in place to keep us from being able to understand storybooks or anything like this. It was to keep us away from reading law, from studying law, from learning your birthrights. So, you know, like I said, when the prophet has arrived and given us our nationality back, that changes the whole dynamic here in America. And the prophet taught us we don't have to go anywhere. This is our soil. We are not strangers to the soil of America. The land belongs to the Moors. Moors need to know this. When the Supreme Grand Sheik spoke about the young Moor who said that Christopher Columbus discovered America, all Moors should know that they can quote the letter that George Washington wrote to the Moorish Sultan here in America, asking for permission to settle down. Because the Europeans that were coming over here was fleeing the persecution and the prosecution over there in Europe.
Yes.
So when they came here, if you read the journals of Christopher Columbus, he tells you that we left Mohammedans over in Europe, and on our arrival here in America,
Same thing.
we are running into more Mohammedans,
Same thing.
woolly hair, brown skin, red feathers. We're running to the same people. These people are everywhere.
Quick note, Morris. What he's talking about is, like things like the Treaty of Peace of Friendship and the letter between George Washington and Mohammed III, the Sultan of Morocco. And what he was saying was, if you picked up on it, that Treaty of Peace and Friendship was struck here, not Morocco over in so-called Africa. All that was done here. Look up a map on Google called the Exotic Map of the United States, and you'll see all the Arabic name cities that are still existing to this day. Tripoli is up by Wisconsin and all that kind of stuff. Algiers, Morocco is actually right here near Indiana, where I domicile near. So we got to understand that when that letter was sent by George Washington and the Treaty of Peace and Friendship was struck, it was done here in America because this is Morocco, Islam.
They have, if you read the Chronicles of Christopher Columbus, it tells you, it appears as if they have subdued the entire earth.
Right.
Everywhere that he navigated, he came across Moors and he had to deal with Islamic laws.
Right.
Now, when we say Islamic laws, we clearly understand how the Holy Prophet Noble Jali instructed us to perceive it. You follow? We, as the Supreme Grand Sheik, and I want to thank the Supreme Grand Sheik for keeping the temple doors open for Moors like myself, for children growing up to come in to know these divine truths. But
no, this isn't on YouTube. This is my personal collection.
Original Islam, the original pillars of Islam
He
are
called it
ancient.
old-time religion.
That's right,
That's
the
what he
old
called it.
time, and which he
Old-time
also
religion.
called Islamism,
Right,
which means
right.
it's active. It's a verb, transitive verb, meaning that you have to be engaged in about the practice of Islam. So the original pillars of Islam are love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Yes, the tenets that we hear about being of Islam today, they're noble. But the Prophet told us, in true and ancient Islam, that old time religion, nobody can dispute the characteristics of Islam. And I say that to say this. I mean, when you say, let's say if I'm from another part of the world, if I'm from China, right, and I come to America, and we have a dialogue, we have a discourse, and I say, hey, I think that for all humanity, we should love each other. Now, I can be from America, you can be from China.
Right.
Guess what? Both parties don't have a problem with love.
No.
And we say we should be truthful with one another.
Right.
We don't have a problem with that.
No.
We should be peaceful. It won't be debated.
No.
See, it's universal. Islam is universal in its characteristics. But when you have an issue, let's say, for example, just making Hajj to Mecca, Arabia, once in your lifetime, if you can afford it, that's a noble act. That's a righteous act. But everybody around the world will not necessarily subscribe to that tenet. So when the Prophet told us that we are the fathers and founders of civilization and true Islam, he said those characteristics will never be disputed, challenged, or disagreed upon by anybody in the human family.
Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice.
Justice. And that's what we promote.
Right.
That's what
That's the old time religion.
That's the old time religion.
It's not the old Islam or the new
It's
Islam. It's
the
Islam.
It's the old time religion. And it's universal.
But you know, it's so profound, I keep using that word, that in the divine warning to the nation, our prophet Noble Dwali made it very clear that he was divinely prepared and sent to us so that he could take us back to that state of mind of our forefathers.
That's right.
You see, when we get back into that state of mind of our forefathers, there's no Negroism there.
No.
That's right.
You know, there's Islam there.
Right.
You know, there's unity there. When that is completely instilled in the Moors here in North America, as it said, it's going to be a big change.
Oh yeah. Oh
It's
yeah.
going to be a big
Wow.
change.
Yeah.
And it's happening.
You know,
Right.
well,
Yeah.
Peace and love. Grand Rising, Mom. So you said, tell me about that old time religion. That's Islamism. That's what we used to sing about in our Christian churches. Give me that old time religion and all that kind of stuff, because it's the religion that's built off principles, not rituals, not having the altar at the front with now the A and B selection from the choir, and you know what I'm saying, and all this kind of stuff, and preaching does this sermon and shout and holler and and you know what I'm saying. No, that has nothing to do with us. That is Christianity, which is a new thing, a phenomenon. The guy who should be setting up in churches with a big picture of himself is Constantine, because that's who brought you Christianity per se. Okay, so the old time religion you used to sing about in church and our grandparents and all them was Islam. Okay, Islamism, because nobody has a problem with being loved, truthful with one another, peaceful. Right? Love, truth, peace. Nobody has a problem with freedom and justice. All right? Justice must be saved. And like Colossians 4:11 says in the Bible, Jesus, which means justice. Okay? So that's what that old time religion is. Our original designation of religion, realignment, is what religion means. So don't get caught up in thinking religion is something bad. Dogma is what you mean when you say, oh man, religion. We all went through that stage of awakening where we said, man, forget religion. They've been lying and I'm a spirit and I'm God and all this kind of stuff. But the thing is that when you talk about religion, okay, rejoining the group from whence you came, which is your nationality. Religion is nationality, and adhering to the principles of your forefathers and foremothers that they have gave to you to be able to live long on the earthland, right? Honor thy father and thy mother doesn't mean directly your mom and dad in the sense. It means honor your ancestral self. Honor the principles and the creeds that were given to you so that you can be in tune with this nature, with the cosmos, and with the Most High. All right? Islam.
When our people lift themselves up and begin to act civilized with one another,
Right.
and stop acting like Negroes.
Right.
You see, our people have been trained to act
Like
the way
that.
they act.
Right.
You know,
Mhm.
nothing just happened.
Right.
Our prophet taught to us, there are no happenings. Law governs all the way.
That's right. That's
You
right.
see,
Mhm.
and we got to get ourselves in accordance with law.
Right.
The way we think,
Mhm.
the way we act,
Right.
the way we talk.
Right.
We got to get in accordance with Islamic law.
Love,
That's what
truth,
we've got
peace,
to
freedom,
do.
and justice. I want to keep stressing that because people would say, "Well, I'm going to tell you something, Grand Sheik. When I was doing a show with someone, I was working on a camera. It was right here where Zaki is, and it was an old Moor. He had come in, and he was a guest on the show, and he was telling them. He said, "Well, I wanted a more traditional Islam." And when he said that, he started staring straight at me, and he started rising up out of that seat. Right during the show, started rising up and just staring at me, rising up out of that seat. And when that show was over, he flew out of here. Well, people need to know what true Islam is. Because when he said he wanted traditional Islam, he had gone to this other, he's talking about this other, he didn't know that we're the true Islam.
That's right.
Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Not all this other stuff you hear from here and hear from there. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And our people need to know. Our kids need to know that. Our kids want love. You know something? When Antonia Tuff, when she talked that young man out of killing those kids at that school, what did she say? She said, "We love you.
That's right.
That's right.
We love you."
That's right.
And that's what you were saying.
That's right.
No matter who it
And
is.
sister, I'd like to chime in on that and camelback on what you're saying is See, what the game that's being played is, if you look at our people in particular here in the Americas, right, who went through the experience and the suffrages of chattel slavery. If you look at our spirituality, what we call spirituality, our religions, our people, the so-called Negroes, blacks, and coloreds, they historically and traditionally, since chattel slavery and during chattel slavery, have always reached for profit outside of their own people. If they study Christianity, they're thinking of a foreign European person, right? Or even if they delve into other traditional religions like Buddhism, they're reaching to somebody outside of their nationality. Jesus was an Israelite. If they focus on Moses was an Israelite. Everything that our people have always gravitated to, as far as institutionalized and organized religion, has always reached for somebody outside of themselves. So when you do that, you're saying that Almighty God Allah in heaven, or whatever name you choose to identify with, you're saying that he doesn't have love for our people because he never sent us our own prophet for our redemption. So what's so unique and what's so special is that Prophet Noble Drew Ali was born from amongst us.
Right.
Was born from amongst us.
Yes. Yes.
Our own prophet.
Yes.
Our own guide.
Yes.
And we don't have to learn a foreign language because he can't speak in our tongue.
Exactly.
In fact, the scripture says that Jesus, in this day and time, will be born amongst his own people, right? But his own people will perceive him not, and they will reject him.
Right.
And that's what's going on. There are people in high places that are starting to scrutinize. They're starting to critically analyze the Moorish movement growing in America. It is growing. It is getting profound. The people are reconnecting to their true identity. And this is due to the arrival of Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Whenever a prophet is sent into the world from Allah, he not only deals with their spiritual needs and their spiritual necessities, he also addresses their social and economic conditions. That's why Jesus, in the historical Jesus, said that you give to Rome, you give to Caesar what belongs to him.
And to God that do God.
Give him. And that's what we're doing. When we proclaim our nationality as Moorish Americans, we reject the titles of Negro, Black, and Color, and these other titles and classifications that delude to slavery, that take us outside of our proper person, that takes us outside of our proper contributions to civilization. In fact, the Holy Prophet Noble Drew Ali in the Supreme Grand Sheik teaches all Moorish Americans that for you to go around and call yourself Negro, Black, and Colored is not
African American,
all African American, all Latino, all these other slave titles.
I want you to address that. That's something I definitely want you to address.
They teach us. Holy Prophet Noble Drew Ali, Supreme Grand Sheik Bailey and other elders in the Moorish movement teaches that not only is this incorrect and legally incorrect, it's legally and historically a falsity and it's out of line, but what they teach is that it's actually a divine sin for you to castrate yourself from the natural identity that Almighty God Allah has given us as a people.
Exactly. And I want you and...
Yeah, this is a MSTA production.
And the Supreme Grand Sheik, I want you all to address this. I have Haitian friends. In fact, I've been around Haitians more than I've been around other people. And I know one of my Haitian friends, he's like a little brother with me, you know. And we used to do shows together and blah, blah, blah. Okay. And so we fell off, like brothers and sisters. You know, I'm the older sister, he's the younger brother, okay? And so anyway, one night I was going home. He said, I'll take you home, Carol. And so this other person, like, you may wind up in a ditch or something somewhere. But she didn't understand. That's the only friend I've never had a friend. He's the only friend I ever had, you know, to do things with, you know, to do shows and go out and shoot people and stuff. I've never had a friend like that. The only friend in the world that I ever had was Busico. The only friend in the world, besides Noble Drew Ali, that I've ever had in my life was Busico. And for her to do that, and that made me, I went into a crisis. I went into shock. I had to go to the hospital because I have sickle cell disease. And so emotions, trigger stuff
Why
like that.
would she say that?
I don't know. I don't understand that Azaka is there. He's a friend, but he's not a friend like Fusiko. We didn't do things
that
together.
wasn't something that you just ignored?
I don't know. It just got to me. It just got to me like you don't know who you are, so you don't know who he is. I mean, it's like they're foreign. The Haitians are foreign to us or something.
She played on that.
Yeah, so that's why it got to be like that.
That's why I appreciate the relationship I have with this move and other moves. Younger. I'm about twice his age. Okay.
Me too.
It's like your age.
No, I'm trying to say.
But here's the thing. Even though he's different, he might talk different, he eats different, he's your brother.
Exactly.
He's your brother.
Exactly.
My experiences with Moorish science has been more so that I want to keep it alive.
Yes. Yes.
But it's more.
Yes.
And that we can meet and agree on how to take it forward. My contribution, even like on this show, I think I came on this show as somebody who could give the history.
That's right.
But that's okay because I'm in agreement with a lot of Moors as to how we can move forward.
Right.
But people will come in and they will play you against me or play me against you or something like that.
Yeah.
And what we cannot do is we cannot allow them to be successful.
Oh.
That's right. You see.
Okay.
We can, we got enough people as it is.
That's right.
Causing divisions in this movement.
That's right.
Yes.
Yes. And what amazes me is that some people who are so dedicated to the prophet will allow somebody to walk up in their face and tell them the prophet's not right. The prophet said this. He said, there are evil spirits moving upon this plane. Now, that individual that told you about you going to be going over in the ditch, that was an evil spirit.
Okay.
Causing a division between you and your only friend.
Exactly.
Your real friend.
Right.
Somebody that loved you and you loved them and the two of you had a beautiful friendship.
Right.
But they know exactly what to say, they know exactly what to do. I've had people say things about me and make people say, ooh, I better not have nothing to do with him.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. They know what to say. They know what to do.
Oh, okay.
And we're still fighting at this very day. I tell a lot of older Moors, I said, you got to know how to change. And you got to know sometimes how to get out of the way.
Okay.
This movement has got to grow and develop. The prophet said this. He said a lot of people were opposed to him, especially a lot of certain Christian ministers, because they view Islam and the Moorish American of America as something new.
How is it something new?
You see? And when we talk and communicate, we're not talking about something new. We're talking about our forefathers.
Exactly.
Right.
We're talking about how our forefathers did Salah.
That's right.
We're talking about how our forefathers observed Ramadan. We're talking about a Moorish nation that has a foundation. We've been running around here acting silly and meandering for 100 years, but now playtime is out.
Exactly.
The older Moor and the younger Moor got to get together.
Yes.
They've got to get together.
Yes.
Some older Moors are not going to do it.
No, they're not.
Some younger Moors say, well, the older Moor, I got to push him in the back and get him out of the way. That is not that time of day.
That's right.
Yet. It's not that time of day yet with me.
Right.
Because we can work together.
That's right.
I know what I know we got to take it to another level.
Right.
There's a lot of confusion in the movement. The more was speaking to me about all this confusion in the movement. Nothing just happens.
Okay.
It's caused. And if there's confusion in the movement, we should be able to spot it.
Right.
And we should be able to know who caused it. We should make a list of all those Moors who are causing confusion.
Islam.
And everybody ignore them.
Oh, okay. But
People like that gonna turn you against your friend. You got to ignore them. And you should tell other people what they're about.
right. But you know something, we don't have but a couple of minutes, and what I want you to address is the fact that who's in this family of people of us. You know, let them know that Haitians are us.
Sure they are.
Okay, Latinos are us.
That's right.
Okay.
If I can just interject right quick, we have to understand that during the time for the portion of our people, of the Moors, who experienced the transatlantic slavery, we have to understand that that junction of time, the places that we call Nigeria, Libya, all of these different names, these are corporate. These are corporate names.
Exactly.
All of that dominion of West Africa was identified by historical records as Moroccans. Those people were Moroccans. They were Moors. They weren't Nigerians. These are corporate names that just started being utilized and circulated so many years ago.
Right.
We were historically always documented and identified and self-proclaimed as Moors. Maybe different variations of the word Moor, Moor, Moroccan. Moor is just short for Moroccan.
Let me ask you a question real quick, since we only got a few minutes.
Yeah, we just got about a minute now.
This is about the uniting of Asia.
That's right.
That Haitian may not be per se a Moor, but he probably is.
Right, exactly.
Okay? But there are other people that may not be a Moor, but they're Asiatic.
Right.
And this is the uniting
Of
of
the
Asia.
Asian people.
We're seeking to bring all the Asiatic people together.
Back into the family.
Here's something else I want to say.
Okay.
We need to get a little more knowledgeable of our brothers and sisters in Central and South America.
Exactly, exactly.
I was speaking with a Mexican not too long ago, and I was surprised. He said something to me, I got to check it out. He said, oh, Cuban's not a nationality. I said, really? But there's something that is missing. They don't want to be called Latinos.
Right.
They don't want to be called Hispanic.
Right.
But we're busy not finding out what we should say.
Right, exactly. But you know something, the prophet Cuban, you know, we go to Cuba, we show our nationality card. And,
They got
hey, we Cuban.
Did you know this briefly?
We got really
Okay. One of the favorite meals down there in Central America, is something called Cristianos and Moranos. Basically, it's white rice and black beans. So even the food is reflective to the social construct between Christians and Moors, Christians and Muslims, Moors and Europeans.
Yeah.
So they know that they're Moors.
Okay.
But this is the uniting of Asia.
And
when we unite Asia, what a day.
And all my Haitian brothers and sisters, we're the same.
We love our Haitian brothers.
We got a rap, and that's a rap. And I'm so sorry. I wish we could go. We're gonna have to do this again, but I gotta get some money. But we're gonna have to.
Thank you, sister.
Islam, y'all. Yeah, this isn't on YouTube. This is from my collection, you know. So I'm gonna post it. But man, I just wanted to give y'all some of that to know that, you know, in a way, we get this confusion about the MSTA and the Moors there and stuff like that, and we can see that Grand Sheik of the original Supreme Grand Council saying it real, saying, hey, look, we ain't doing right. We supposed to have our own communities, our own farmland. We are not taking care of our children the way we need to be. He put on some game about, you know, some of the history around what, you know, happened when the prophet, you know, transitioned and all that kind of stuff. And so it goes to say, not everybody in the Moorish Science Temple is a knucklehead who thinks that, you know, you got to go do this UCC and all that. They ain't down with all that. But there's been so much division. And we got to bring it back together. A lot of us Moors who aren't in the temple and all that kind of stuff, you know, we need to start networking. We need to start getting this thing together because those temples are ours. And the prophet brought us, and we need to resurrect what he brought. It's our divine duty. It's almost like a Hajj or whatever. Not a Hajj, but a Jihad. What they call it? Jihad or something like that. Because we got to start to uproot these dirty Grand Sheiks and all this kind of stuff. And these people who ain't really sincere in a collective way to get them to lose support, to not have the influence that they do on the movement. And then we got to network and join together and do what we can to redeem this thing. Because what do we look like as a nation when we can't even come together and redeem our prophet? We can't even redeem our forefathers, ancestors, and all that kind of stuff, and not understanding the right narratives or the right way to go about doing that. We can do this. We are doing this. All right. I ain't gonna say we can do this. We are doing this. But a lot of wisdom was spoken on this video. If you missed some of it, I'm gonna keep it posted. Y'all go back and rewatch and all that kind of stuff. Jewels were dropped. High honors to Prophet Noble Drew Ali. High honors to all the active Moors out there. High honors to these three Moors who went in on this and gave us some missing pieces to the puzzles and such like that, you know. So I hope y'all enjoyed it. And Islam, y'all. Peace and love.